In November of 1966, in a small town in upstate South Carolina, there was a UFO sighting. That night, G. Husky and Charles Hutchins were out on a normal patrol around the sleepy little town of Gaffney. Around 4 a.m. on the morning of November 17th, they were traveling on a small road, named West Buford Street Extension, right outside of downtown. When they drove around a sharp right turn in the street, it was there that they encountered what the two officers described as a circular machine. The craft was hovering over the middle of the road, but it soon landed, and a little man climbed outside of it as they approached the craft. The events that unfolded thereafter were not widely known until it was published in the April 1967 issue of Fate magazine. Officer Hutchins had been on the Gaffney police force for only 6 months, and Officer Husky had been on the force for 5 years. That night, both officers reported seeing a large amount of shooting star. The area in general had been getting reports of UFO activity, a large number in fact, for years preceding this encounter. Mainly centered around the small town of Blacksburg, South Carolina and Gastonia, North Carolina. That night, when the two officers happened upon the object, they said it was floating about 20 feet off of the ground when they first observed it. They described the object as being spherical with no lights or windows. Nothing but the dull reflection of the patrol car's headlights on its shiny surface. The object slowly descended until it was only a few feet off of the ground. The two officers exited their patrol car. Both men stood there, gazing at the object in shock. A small hatch opened on the bottom hemisphere of the object and the ladder, which was approximately 5 feet long, dropped down to the ground. An extremely bright light poured out of the doorway, blinding the two uneasy officers. A small figure began to descend the ladder, and when it came within 15 feet of the two men, the being stopped. Officer Hutchins later recounted, he didn't move swiftly. He moved just like anybody else, but kind of slow. Like he was taking his time. He wasn't scared of us or anything like that. Hutchins also said that the being was about the size of a 12-year-old boy, approximately 4 foot tall. It wasn't wearing a helmet or any headgear, just a simple gold suit with no buttons or zippers. The flight suit worn by the being was very shiny, especially in the headlights of the patrol car. Hutchins said that he and his fellow officer, Husky, were both kind of shaky and scared, and that the being did most of the talking. The officer could not recall if he ever saw the feet of the creature during the encounter, but said that it was standing in high grass, and that the feet of the being could have been hidden by it. He talked real good. Like a college graduate, Hutchins said. He didn't have any type of accent or anything. He acted like he knew exactly what he was saying and doing. He didn't make any quick moves or false moves. He just stood there and talked to us. Officer Hutchins stuttered out a question. He asked, "What are you doing here?" The being did not reply, but instead countered with a question of its own. He wanted to know why we were both dressed alike. Hutchins continued. "So, I guess we told him we were police officers." Officer Hutchins went on. His speech was very precise. He pronounced each word very carefully. I can't remember everything he said now, but it wasn't anything very important. I think I asked him where he was from, but he didn't answer. He just laughed. He had a kind of funny laugh. The entire event lasted only 2 or 3 minutes. The being then said, "I will return in 2 days." Then turned and walked slowly back to the object, climbed inside, and the craft began to make a whirring sound. It wasn't like those sounds in science fiction movies, said Hutchins. There was no screeching to it. It was soft, like an engine with a muffler on it. Then, the object rose slowly into the air and vanished into the night sky. Both police officers were left standing in the dull lights of their patrol car, completely in shock. They drove back to the police station in total silence. The next day, the two men returned back to the spot of the incident with a Gaffney city councilman. Several small, childlike footprints were found in the dirt off the side of the road. At night, on their routine patrols, they returned to the site of the encounter every night for the next 2 weeks, but told no one. They never encountered anything else unusual. The story was leaked to local reporters and was ran in the local newspaper. The two officers were ridiculed relentlessly. Even their fitness for duty was questioned by some locals. 2 weeks after the incident, two strangers showed up in Gaffney. They stayed in a motel near downtown and were seen by locals wandering around town, asking various people strange questions. They eventually contacted officers Hutchins and Husky, calling them from the payphone at a local diner. The two strange men explained that they were doctors of some kind, said Hutchins. I think they worked for the government or something. By that time, both of us were fed up with the whole business, and we didn't want to talk about it anymore. The two strange men left without much fuss, never to be heard from again. Officer Husky left the force shortly after the event. He suffered an accident, which was unrelated to the UFO encounter. He now owns his own small business in Gaffney. His reputation in this small town is spotless. Neither officer has ever shown an interest in UFO literature or fanfare. Both were laughed at and became very hesitant to share their experience with anyone. Neither man ever sought money or fame for the event. The Gaffney UFO incident remains one of the most credible UFO encounters in history. Thank you for watching my video. Like, comment or subscribe to see new content.